Hello everyone, this is a walkthrough of the AIM Games K8 Obstacle Course Challenge for sport throwing knives. We're going to begin today by walking through the target, and as you can see, what we've got here are really just 5 strips of paper and 4 playing cards. The strips of paper are each 8 inches long by 1.5 inches wide. We make a triangle out of 3 strips of paper, as you can see here, by simply taping them together on the back. This is after throwing at a full set entry. As you can see, we've also got a corner of a card up there. Our 4 playing cards, 2 on the left vertically, 2 on the right, and here goes a full set. Now the first thing I'm doing is throwing at the center bullseye. That's the only thing that counts. Misses, add 5 seconds to the time, and we're not allowed to run. So as you can see, I hit that bullseye on the second throw, and now I'm going for the top card on the upper left. Any kind of cut counts. Now that top one did not cut the card, so I went on and through. Now I have to replace that onto the target. When the pin fell off, I'm taking my time, I'm pinning it back on, because the target has to be intact when we're complete with the obstacle course. We're not going to make a mess with pins all over the place. Now I've hit that top left card, now I'm going for the lower left card. Again, this is the 3rd obstacle, and I'm just going to cut the card, and there it is on the 3rd throw. These first 2 just add penalty seconds to the overall time. Here I'm a little more careful to keep that single pin intact. Each one is just pinned on once. Now I'm going for the upper right card, which is the 4th obstacle. We've gone bullseye, upper left, lower left, and now I'm going upper right card. Again, this is just a cut of the card that I'm going for. I'm ignoring my misses because the main thing here is to complete the obstacle course. The time that's added, well, we'll get better at this as time goes on. Again, I'm still going for that upper right card, and I still have yet to cut it. I believe that's it right there. There's a fist bump, so I've cut that card, I've thrown it, and now the lower right card is the 5th obstacle that you can do with just four cards, nothing else. But this has to be a center cut, and there it is on the very first throw. I've completed my center cut, and now I get to move on to the very difficult 6th obstacle, and that is the center of this very small triangle, and it has to hit in there. Look how close that is. It looks like it's in there, but it's not. It has to be in there so that it's not touching the paper in any way, and that triangle is 5 inches by 5 inches by only 1.5 inches at the base. It's a peaked triangle. You'll see it in the instructions, and I am going for it so that when I hit it, it is not going to be touching the paper in any way at all. And there it is. Only took about 5 or 6 throws in my case. I'm not allowed to run. That was a fast walk. I shouldn't even walk that fast. We don't need to be going that fast, but take a look at this. I'm zooming in because it was so close that I do want to be able to show that indeed that can be validated as not touching the paper in any way. There was a small gap there between the knife and the paper, and now the paper itself becomes the target. So I've completed the 6th obstacle, and here we are, number 7, which is going for that 1.5 inch paper strip on the left part of the triangle, and it has to be a center cut. And not only does it have to be a center cut, but it has to be a center cut such that it does not touch any previous cuts. So I can keep throwing at that piece of paper even though it's got a few cuts in it already, but when I accomplish the center cut, it has to do so in a way that doesn't touch any of the other cuts, and it also does not touch any of the other pieces of paper. You'll see that piece of paper on the left, it's overlapping in a couple of places, right? It's overlapping on the bottom, and it's overlapping at the very top. I've drawn a triangle there to show where it's overlapping the other piece of paper. Well, it has to hit the piece of paper on the left, and it has to hit it center cut, not touching any of those other pieces of paper, and not now I'm upset because I've hit the center cut on the right side, which is the next target, but we're not going for that right now. We're going for the left. I pulled it out, and it does not count. And onward. In fact, it makes my job more difficult later because there's damage to that right-hand column now, the right-hand piece of paper that I'll be aiming for number 8. And there it is. Okay, so I've got it, and that is validatable on my zoom in. I'm seeing this on a small screen while I narrate it. and here I'm going for the right-hand one. Now, as mentioned, I've already hit it once, so there's some damage on there. I may have hit it a few times. So what I'm going for now is a center cut on the right-hand piece of paper with the same rules, no overlap and no touching of existing cuts, and there it's very close. I'm actually smoothing out the paper a little bit for later, but the point is it did not complete the obstacle. So I'm continuing on, ignoring again how many misses I have, because what I'm doing is throwing for a total of 10 minutes. I'm trying to complete the entire obstacle course, which means that I'm going to do it as fast as I can in under 10 minutes of active throwing. Now here I'm just going on. If I miss 100 times, I'll miss 100 times. It'll just add more penalty time later on. But the highest score you can get in obstacle course in K8 is to complete the most obstacles in under 10 minutes of clock time. So it doesn't matter how many times I miss. What's important is how many times how many obstacles I complete, then my time against others who've completed that same number of obstacles. So here we go. We're going to continue on with this narration. And I'm still going for that right-hand piece of paper for a nice clean center cut, which I believe I've missed probably 30 knives going for it by now. But I have yet to go through 10 minutes. It's now about 6.5 minutes. As much time as it seems like has gone through, there's really quite a bit of time in 10 minutes to go for 12 obstacles like this. This is my first try, so and only try, so I'm really going for it here. And yet, it can be frustrating, right? So here I go. I'm going to continue on for that minute 1.5 inch. Up there it is, and I'm quite excited. And I take a close look, and sure enough, I pull the other two. I'll count the misses afterwards when we review. And here we go. We're going to zoom in to show it, because any close throw like this we need to show. And here it is underneath. It's very close to another cut, but not touching it in any way. Totally qualifies as the center cut. Obstacle number 8 completed at the 7 minutes and 20-second mark approximately, and here we go. So now I'm going to try to hit 3 in a row, going bottom to top, where the top edge of one stick must be higher than the one before, and it all has to take place inside that 5-inch gap that you see there between those two strips. It's a nice carefully measured 5-inch gap. I've got it nice and leveled there, and it's only 8 inches wide. It has to be within the 8-inch wide strips, so I've got them nicely aligned there. If it's outside of that, it would not count. Now, I hit that first one, but there's just no way I'm going to get 2 more above it. Now, I can pull 1, 2, or 3 of them. If I think that's going to be my lowest shot that first throw, I could leave it there, but I'm not going to. I'll take the 3 misses and try the whole thing again. Now, oh, that's a bad throw, so I'll just take that out of there. And what I'm trying for now is as low as I can get without touching the paper in any way, and then once I accomplish that, I can leave it there. I can make that my lowest throw, and I can just throw the other 2, trying to get the obstacle completed. Now, right there, I've actually got it. I've got it, I think so, where it's not touching the paper in any way. It's kind of the perfect throw right there. So I can leave that one there, try to get the other 2 in. Now, I've got one there, and there's no way I actually did come close, but it's on the right side of the paper, so it doesn't count. It has to be inside the 2 strips of paper. And now here I go again. Now that's a good throw. It's at a good angle. That may or may not be. That was a little high, but that second throw, I'm leaving it in there. I'm leaving it alone. It's clearly just above the first one, and there it is. So I believe that does it. And I'm going to bring the camera in to show that indeed I've accomplished 1, 2, 3. This counts as obstacle throws number 8, 9, and number 9, 10, and 11. Pardon me, 9, 10, and 11. If I was to run out of time after just getting 1 or 2 of those already previously stuck, it would be whenever that happened. Whenever I got the second one to stick without ever getting the third one would be when we would end the session on the clock. So if that happened at 8 minutes and 40 seconds, the rest of the set wouldn't matter. And now I'm going for that corner of the card, and the corner of the card cannot hit the pin and it cannot knock the card out. This time we're not trying to knock the card out, we're trying to keep the card in. So you need to do an edge cut or a center cut where the card stays intact and it does not hit the pin. So it's just that corner of a card, and you really need to be precise to get this right. In my case, I did not accomplish it, so this will go down as an 11 point or an 11 obstacle out of 12 set. That happened at 8 minutes and 54 seconds of this set, so that's when this will be scored. I think it's 8:54. I'll double check that, but that is whenever I stuck that third throw on the vertical set. That's when this set will end as far as the clock goes, and when this entry will end. I hope this helps you understand K8, and I wish you all luck in your throwing. Okay, so we're going to take just another minute and discuss the setup for the K8 targets. Here you can see we've just got our 5 pieces of paper, 5 strips of folded paper. I like to fold the paper up to the 8-inch by 1.5-inch size so that it's thicker when the knives go through it and it doesn't tear up so easily. You can use regular throwing cards, or as I've made here, just homemade ones that are just perfectly fine with colored cardboard. You can see it's just plain cardboard on the back. I just spray painted these, but they're 3.5 by 2.5 inches, which is regulation size. I make a whole bunch of extra ones and keep them around so that I'm ready with at least 3 sets in case I need to replace a set when I'm going to do the K8, and I'd recommend you do the same. Here's all the standard measurements, and as you can see, it's all basically 5 inches by 1.5 inches and other similar measurements. Here's an example of how we're going to score it, which is really just obstacles completed is the first thing. The second thing is what the time was on the clock when you completed the last obstacle you were able to do in under 10 minutes. Typically, you're either going to quit somewhere along the way. You've accomplished what you wanted to along the way, or you're going to keep going through your 10 minutes, and somewhere along the way, you'll accomplish the last thing you got done. And then we're going to add 5 seconds after that for every miss that we count that you did along the way. You don't have to worry about that. We'll count it up for you. Every miss is 5 seconds. So what we're doing is we're adding up. So when you see the total score, you're seeing how many obstacles you completed and then the combination of the time between what was on the clock plus your penalty seconds. Ideally, you're going to hit all 12 with no misses and get some score that's mythical and impossible, and we look forward to that. Now, K8 is all from 3 meters minimum. It's an obstacle course that'll be the same for everyone with an easy setup. It has a maximum time limit of 10 minutes, as we discussed, plus then your penalties, and we've discussed how that's going to play out. Your goal, as always, is to complete as many of the obstacles as you can in 10 minutes or less. We compete for the fastest time after that. That's how we're going to set up our order of completion. There's a 5-second penalty for every miss, and we will miss a lot, so don't worry about that. And there is no running allowed in K8. You must walk the course at all times for safety. Anytime you run, we're going to invalidate the whole entry. Any target heights are fine. You can put that triangle wherever you have space. Good luck with that one. Just set up around a fresh and clear 4-inch target circle. That's what we've done. We set our cards left and right. Around that, we set our top and bottom 5-inch measuring thing. Again, our strips, everything goes up around the target, as we'll show you. Your entry ends after you complete the last obstacle. We're repeating ourselves, but we want you to see it all here. The time is not including the penalties that gets added on. Please show any close obstacles that you complete by walking the camera up so we can see it. The clock keeps running, but hey, that's okay. We're all going to have to deal with that. So don't worry about walking the camera up. It's really important because if we can't validate it, then the throw won't count. So we need to see it, and take your time doing it. As always in the AIM games, the goal is to enter in and improve on your personal best as often as you can. Re-enter and improve. Go for that next obstacle. Climb the competition score sheets over time. Initially, just go for the easy ones. You can qualify very easily in K8. We'll track all the scores on Facebook as always. Here's your measurements for the knives. As always, it's going to be standard knife lengths, 12 to 16 inches. The no spin guys, women who want to try no spin, 10 to 16 inches you can do there. Now here's what the cards look like that I made myself. This is just kind of showing what a standard card looks like, 3.5 inches long. Obstacle number 2 is going to be throwing at that upper left card. I'm just pinning everything on once, and that's how we're going to do it. You're just going to pin it on nice and firmly one time. Any hard cardboard would work. There's a standard cardboard, but you can use any cutout firm paperboard is fine. You want it to be colorful though, so we can easily see it on there, and you want it to be nice and crisply cut. So obstacles number 2, 3, and 4 all look the same. You're throwing at a single card and you're just trying to get a cut, an edge cut, a center cut, any kind of cut is fine. Obstacle 5, the lower right card, that gets a little harder. You want it to be a center cut only. And if you've damaged it along the way, well, you have to hit it in a way that doesn't touch any of the other cuts. So it's got to be a nice clean center cut. You can replace the cards anytime you want, but they all must remain pinned up. Then obstacle 6, as we've discussed, here's your nice and narrow 5 inch by 5 inch by 1.5 inches, showing all my measurements of my standard paper triangle. Now, once we do that one, we throw inside the triangle, we're going for number 7. Now, and that's why it's important that each piece of paper be only 1.5 inches wide by 8 inches long, so that way, when you're making the paper triangle, they're identical to everybody else's. The number 7 one, you're getting that center cut as we've shown. Number 8, you're getting yet another center cut on the right, which can be more difficult, because by then, as we saw in my video, you are throwing typically a damaged piece of paper, so you might have to replace it. Then you've got your vertical throws. You're going 1, 2, 3. As mentioned, you cannot touch the paper. Each top edge of each knife must be higher than the one before. You can leave them in anytime you want along the way. Or choose to pull them out later, and we'll count it as a miss. So the final piece is that little tiny thing up on top, which is a corner of a card. That remains as the final target. You can see, just like before when we were experimenting in a superstar contest, it's pinned on once. In this case, you're going to do the opposite of what the superstar requirement was. You're going to throw so that it remains on there. You're not going to hit the pin. You're not going to cut off the card. You're going to hit it so it's an edge cut or a center cut in some way that the card remains up there with the knife, and then show us a nice close-up of that, and you are done when that knife has hit the board. So you can take your time with the close-up, because the set will have ended when you hit that card. Once you prove it, it'll be validated, but we'll be all set, and I wish you very, very well in your throwing.